So I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see when we look through, campaigns that other agencies or people have set up themselves is they don't really understand how important it is to get the right conversion. So when you talk about AI, I mean, and machine learning, Google's been using that for years.
Hey, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. As you know, I am the author of the newly released book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find more information on this book at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com, or even better, I would love it if you'd go off and just go to Amazon and buy it. Just search on AI Marketing Machine Guy Powell, and you'll find it right there. So today, though, we have the privilege of interviewing Jeff Coleman of Factor 4 Marketing. And let me tell you a little bit about him. So he's been running Google Ads since 2004 and now manages more than 10 million in annual ad spend for businesses ranging from local service companies to Fortune 500 brands. Jeff has also taught digital marketing at UC San Diego Extension and USD's Office of Corporate and Professional Education, and he is known for translating complex ad mechanics into practical insights business owners can understand, explain, and act on immediately. Wow, that is so important. Jeff, welcome. So good to have you today.
Marketing's operating system has been replaced. Not upgraded, not improved. Replaced, completely and totally replaced. AI isn't a tool you bolt onto your existing marketing organization. It's a fundamental redesign of how marketing thinks, operates, and creates value. And most CMOs are already behind. The AI Marketing Machine is the field guide for marketing leaders who want to get ahead of that curve. Built on more than a decade of the marketing machine methodology and interviews with over 100 CMOs, this book shows you how to harness generative and analytic AI together, without losing the human edge that makes great marketing unforgettable. This isn't theory, this is the playbook. How to redesign your team, how to build AI into the foundation of how you work, how to prove ROI in the boardroom, and how to lead the intelligent marketing machine that wins in the marketplace. Marketing's future is already here. The question is whether you're building it or watching someone else do it. The AI Marketing Machine, available now.
Thanks for having me, Guy. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us, how did you get involved in all this? It sounds like you've been at it since 2004. So what got you into AI and marketing and search and all the
Yeah,
neat stuff that
so
you're doing?
so I graduated from college before there was online marketing. And I helped a friend build a website actually for chocolate truffles. I got paid in truffles for that first gig, and that was worth it. But I helped them build it, and then I realized like how are they going to get people there? How are they going to make this valuable to their company? And so I started exploring more into, at that time, some search engine optimization. But I just got more involved in online marketing. And then I took a job with a company that was a real leader at the time in terms of Google Ads. They were spending about 85, 90% of their marketing budget on Google for domains and web hosting. And as the marketing manager, I figured I better figure this thing out because that's where most of the budget was going. And I was just hooked from the get-go. I love the idea that you can actually put advertising in front of people who are looking for a solution. And I haven't looked back much since then.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that makes so much sense, and you're right, to take advantage of what you're doing and really understanding how to make it shine, that's a big opportunity. So tell us, what's Factor 4 marketing?
So we do lead generation for clients, primarily or exclusively service and education clients. And we help them understand everything from who's their ideal client profile, what's really makes their business different, and making that stand out, and then building strategies around that. We built the landing pages for them because that's a key component of a successful campaign. And then, we optimize it for them after we started running so that they can continually get better results. And, we've had, it's a really good business because people want to stay when you do this well for them. Our longest client we've had for 16 years.
That is a long time. Interesting. So now you mentioned that whole process, which I really love, and we're going to dig deeper into that. But now it sounded like so you built a landing page and then you optimized it as you were going along. Did I understand that correctly?
Well, we optimize both the ad campaign and the landing page because there are opportunities to test what's working, what's not, both with the keywords, the actual ads, and then, the place where people actually convert. The most people think of Google Ads as, just the keywords and ads, which technically it is, but you don't have success unless you figure out how to get people, in our case, to fill in a lead form or to make the phone call to actually convert into a customer or at the very least a lead. So we spend a lot of our time on those landing pages to make sure they're aligned with that ideal customer profile that we design initially so that as someone gets there, they feel like it's the perfect progression from what they were thinking about, what they searched on, the ad that they saw, and the place they ended up. And it just has to make a lot of sense for them and make them feel comfortable, make sure there's trust. You're building as much trust as possible so that they're willing to fill in their information or give you a phone call.
Yeah. Now, are you working mostly in B2B or B2C or all of the
We do a
above?
good bit of both. Our largest client's B2B, but we do a lot of education, vocational education in particular. We do home services as well, so it kind of spans the gamut there.
Yeah, interesting. So Um, when you're optimizing, then, and you mentioned that you're going to have different customers, or you have an ideal customer profile, of course, but I'm sure there's different personas and things like that. So
Yep.
how do you see those, and how do you test and improve the landing pages to really fit what's actually going on?
Sure. So, the ideal customer profile helps you figure out how you want to speak to the people who are coming. And as an example, we work with a credit union, and they have a high yield checking. And so when we actually broke down the personas there, we recognized there is a persona who's actually out searching for the best rates. And then we realized there's a similar or another persona that knows they should be doing something but isn't very active in that searching. So obviously, we want to target with search the persona of person who's looking and then use Google's display network as a way to reach people who know they should be doing more for their money. They're very busy, but they really would like to earn more interest on their the money that's sitting in the bank. So, it's separating them very early on, making sure which channel is the right fit for them. And then, for example, with the search, we're building landing pages that specifically speak to them wanting to get the best rate because that is what we defined as the persona. They're actually out searching, comparing, your offer to a different credit union or a bank's offer, and our client has an excellent offer compared to the competitor. So it's just laying that out for them. But it's testing, what should you put first? How can you change the headline to really draw the person in and have them fill in the interest form so that someone from the bank can give them a call back. So it's just testing each of those elements. We typically find the headline's the most important, the image almost equally, and then that first paragraph you're going to see, and then the other elements, you can test and move around on the page, but they play a much smaller role.
Interesting. But and let me genericize the question a little bit, and that is when in this case you're looking for interest rates, but generally people they're looking for the best price that you can get, and there's other factors, of course, is how far away do I have to drive, or
Sure.
convenience, or where I can get it. And So, especially in a more considered purchase or maybe in a more expensive purchase, and those two often go together,
Right.
then as I'm searching, if I don't have the best price or the best rate in this example, then how is it that search can still draw those people in, even though you might not have the absolute best rate or best price?
Well, so we have a client who's like that. They're actually in the septic business, and they are not the lowest cost provider. But one of the things we found in, digging deeper into who they serve higher income clients for whom service is really important and convenience. And one of the things they have that no one else has is you can actually go online, get a quote, schedule your septic service without ever having to talk to anyone. And you can do it at, 2 a.m. if you want or whenever. You never have to wait on the phone to speak to someone. And so that's we focus there on the convenience and the fact that, you get really great messaging before and after your service. You know exactly when they're coming. You don't even have to be home. Those types of things, which are all selling points for their clients, are important to talk about because they know they can't compete on price.
Right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So, let me change topics here a little bit. I mean, what you've talked about so far has been fascinating. And of course, you would think that you have to certainly go against your strengths and those people that really see convenience or service or the brand versus the price and making that trade-off. That's clearly where any marketer kind of has to earn their salary, so to speak.
Right.
But now we're talking about search, and search in my mind, and even in my own usage of search, has changed totally. I used to put in something maybe and do like a little bit of a search in Google, and you'd get an answer, and there'd be the sponsored links at the top, and then you'd get the organics and down at the bottom, or you might get the directory listings and Yelp in the
Yep.
middle there. And now I go in there just about for everything. I'm going, I wonder what the best price is for blah blah blah. And then and Google AI overviews gives me a great answer. Sometimes I'll have to wade through some of the paid links, and but quite often I get to right to the answer that I want, and it's just so amazing. How do you see that now affecting your clients or searchers in general and their behavior, and then also how customers or businesses have to respond to this new search behavior?
Right. So, depending on the search you do, you are likely to see different results. The AI overview will often not be the top result if you do a type of search that what Google calls commercial intent, that you're looking to buy something or hire a service. No, you'll still see the ads at the top. So they're trying to maintain some of that inventory that they sell. If you're doing a more informational search, you'll almost always see the AI overview as your first results. But the other is that they're starting to incorporate ads into the AI overview because in many cases, if they're telling you, if you're looking for the best price for something or you're looking for someone who a plumber who comes on weekends type of thing. They'll actually include the link and it'll be marked as such that it's an ad, but it will provide you with a link to that site. So that is part of Google Ads advertising. So one of the things we are seeing is inventory is dropping in terms of, how many searches there are that are commercial intent for different clients. We've definitely seen some changes there over the last 4 to 5 months.
So has the inventory of searches changed, or were they previously misidentified as being maybe more transactional oriented, when in reality I was more interested in just the information?
That's a very fair question. I can make some assumptions about that, and I think what you're saying is very possibly true. But we don't get to see all the data that Google has, and they haven't really published that. But the from a advertiser's perspective, the price has gone up on a lot of clicks because the number of times ads are shown, the inventory, as we call it, has gotten smaller, and the same number of advertisers are still in the space, typically. So that's why being much clearer about why someone might want to work with you becomes even more important because each click costs you more, and you want to bring only the right types of customers to your landing pages.
Right, right. So now with that though, obviously you're doing a lot of testing and you're working to improve the results and getting your cost per acquisition down or your conversion costs or whatever it is, your lead costs down.
Mhm.
What do you see as where companies themselves fail, and what do you see as what they really missed when they were putting their campaigns together?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see when we look through, campaigns that other agencies or people have set up themselves is they don't really understand how important it is to get the right conversion. So when you talk about AI, I mean, and machine learning, Google's been using that for years to help put ads in front of the right people. They really want to achieve the goals that you define for your campaign. But if you are a credit union and one of your goals is driving directions to your location, you're going to waste a lot of money on people who are probably already customers just looking at how to get there. And so we see that misalignment a lot, but it even can get more complicated. So one of our clients is a CPR training company, and they do on-site training for clients, not you don't come to classes for them, or at least that's not their primary business. So what we figured out after working with them, we got helped them get clear on what made them different, but then we also help teach Google that they only want people who want on-site training. So if you come to their site and say get a quote, if you are an individual, you're taken to another page and you are not counted as a conversion. There is a list of classes. But if you move forward with the on-site training and fill in the form, we feed that back into Google and say that's a good fit. So by doing that, you start to train the algorithm of who you want. And they have a lot of information that's not just the search terms. They claim it's 250 different signals they use. And we've seen this has been very true for this client. Their marketing cost per lead has dropped to about 40% less than it was because you're feeding the right information back into the algorithm, and they're getting better and larger clients who are completing the form versus these individuals. So it's really using that to give the right information to Google so that you're getting the conversions you actually want to spend money on.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, and it's interesting when you're talking about you really have to learn how the customer is actually, in this case, searching to get to a conversion, and really almost understanding your client's business better than they understand it, because you're you're building in this capability and you're building it in so that the Google algorithms then can really understand what is it that drives your success. And then once you get that, then your search results are gonna do significantly better.
Yeah. So an even simpler example for a lot of clients is how long a phone call is. You can define a conversion by the length of the phone call. That's really, they're trying to put some AI into it to tell if it's a conversion. We'll see how well that works. But right now, it's you define, is it a 30-second call, a 60-second call, a 90-second call? But some businesses put zero, like any call is considered a conversion, which is not. If you're just calling to, check the status of something or to, ask a very quick question, we don't want more of those people. We want more of the people who are on the phone for 60, 90 seconds. And some even large businesses are still counting all of their calls, which is just, sending the wrong signals back to the algorithms. So you really want to make sure you have all of those things aligned to be able to be successful.
Oh, that is really interesting. And because quite often, and I'm guilty of that as well, it's kind of like, hey, I got a phone call, so that's a success,
Yeah,
as opposed to, no, 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 that was a good phone call. And then tell the Google algorithm how to differentiate between the good versus the good, the bad, and the ugly
exactly.
between all of the phone calls. That is so fascinating. It's so interesting to understand at a high level. I mean, you're into the details, and I'm not going to get there, but it's interesting to hear how important it is that these algorithms that Google has put together are making such a difference. And it even plays not only in Google, but it plays, I guess, in Meta and
Sure.
some of the other paid advertising platforms.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you are feeding it the right information.
Right, right, right. Well, and I like in some of the notes you sent me. I like your point about trusting the results, not the process. Tell us what that means, and how then a marketer or a business can take advantage of that to drive their business forward.
Yeah, so I've spoken with too many business owners that are working with agencies where the agency is showing them vanity metrics. This many people saw your ad, this many people clicked and came to your website. So you're improving visibility, you're improving, um, the engagement. And at the end of the day, Google Ads is way too expensive to generate traffic that way. When you're paying, anywhere from a couple dollars to 40, $50 a click, you want to make sure that the person you're bringing is a prospect who could actually spend money with you, not just someone who's gathering more information right now. So when I'm talking to someone and they said, well, we're not really making money from Google Ads, but we're getting a lot of traffic out of it and visibility. No, 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 no. You want to make sure that's fine if you want to do TV commercials or other types of advertising where your cost per exposure is fairly inexpensive. But with Google Ads, you want to see a return on investment for every dollar you spend. And yes, there can be a learning period where you're optimizing, trying to figure it all out, but it's not you don't want that to be your long-term goal. You want it to be we're getting $2 out for every dollar we put in, or you just it's really a waste of money. You should be spending those advertising dollars on branding or something else if that's what you really want out of it.
So how does the algorithm differentiate between, let's say, I I do a search and I'm looking to buy something, but I'm doing some information gathering and I do a search and I click on the link for Guy Powell and I click on the link for Jeff Coleman and maybe a couple of others. And then I go away for a week or two and then I come back and I now then only click on Guy Powell and only click on Jeff Coleman. And then I go talk to my wife and an hour or two later I come back and I go, okay, Guy Powell convert. So how does the algorithm see those three stages of information gathering versus, I don't know, maybe consideration set building and then
Right.
finally deciding?
Well, it probably has to do with the actual searches that you did to a large degree. So your first search might be looking for marketing consultant or marketing agency. And so that's very broad. And then if you come back and search on AI marketing strategist and you come up, now you've narrowed that down, you're probably closer to a purchase. Your final search might be an actual branded term where they search for your name specifically, so that would be very high intent, particularly given that Google knows that history as well, that you've been narrowing down what you're doing. The other piece is that they have huge sets of data, and they know a lot about you, so they might have learned that an individual who owns their own business and is in a certain age group is much more likely to be a buyer versus someone who's younger, working for a company and is doing research for someone else. And so, they're going to be able to differentiate to some degree that the nuances of who you are and what your searches are likely to mean. And, whether you're more of a researcher or you're a person who's actually making the purchase.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I guess, I mean, I see your point that even my searches will get more specific.
Yeah,
So the generic kind of, like you said, marketing consulting, and then, no, 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 AI marketing consulting. And then, by the way, I want to find Guy Powell's new book, The AI Marketing Machine.
exactly.
Exactly. So that, all right, I could definitely see that. So does that mean though that you are doing different ads with different I don't know, with more information answering ads versus conversion ads? Are there two different kind of creatives going on?
It depends on the business, but yes, in some we do that. What would be more of a consideration early on versus an actual purchase? We want to have different ads and in some cases different landing pages for those folks. But one of the advantages for businesses is we tend to advertise at the bottom of the funnel, the people who are closer to a decision. Now, brand is a separate thing, but someone who might be doing a search on how to fix a plumbing problem, they might need a plumber, but we probably aren't going to spend the money there. We're going to spend it on when they look for an actual plumber to solve the problem. So, we tend to look at bottom of the funnel much more
Mm.
frequently for the search terms. Now, if you're doing much broader, we do run YouTube advertising, which is part of Google, and we don't use a display network. Those we're looking for people who are higher in the funnel. So it's not search terms per se, but they may have searched on something, and then we will put an ad in front of them on a different site or on YouTube.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so really paid search advertising is all about the bottom of the funnel.
For
And
most businesses, it is.
right, right, right. Yeah. Okay, well that's pretty good. So now one of the challenges now, and it's even I guess it's probably amplified by a million, is that the search algorithms and the ads and even Google ads, the whole everything is changing. And Google now with AI and AI overviews is now trying to compete against ChatGPT and Claude, and they're going to have their own ads, and then all of a sudden, then that's going to cause more changes. So, how do you, first of all, how do you stay ahead of that, or how do you at least maybe not stay ahead of it, but you're a close follower, and then how do you keep up with all of these shifts and make and deliver ROI for your clients?
Yeah, so it is definitely challenging in a way that it hasn't been in the last 17 years of having this business. We've definitely seen more challenges in the last year. It's about paying attention to the trends, keeping up on, different people are doing different research and insights into what's going on, and then testing things for clients. So Google has a feature they call AI Max, which puts you in front of the AI in the AI overview a lot more, and it also tries to find those searches that are longer tail. They're not just a couple keywords, but maybe someone who's speaking to their to this the I forget what they call it, but the Gemini engine. Um, so, there are tools, we're testing them. AI Max was terrible when it first came out. It's now gotten reasonably good. So we're starting to roll it out to more clients. Um, so it's just continually trying the new things that come out, maybe for one or two clients or across the board, depending on what it looks like, and seeing what the results are. Because at the end of the day, that's what our clients care about is how much is it costing me to get a new lead and what percentage of those turn into actual customers. So, and I opened an account with ChatGPT for their advertising. Haven't started running it for any clients, but we're starting to experiment with a few ads for ourselves, just so we understand the platform and see where it might be a good fit for clients. So we just have to keep testing new things and seeing what works, what doesn't, and what doesn't work today might work tomorrow. So you have to keep coming back to it as well.
So I'm curious, Google advertising and Google search, I don't know, it seemed like it was 95% of the market. Bing was there and Yahoo and DuckDuckGo, and there's a
Yeah,
couple of other
yeah.
ones. But they're tiny relative to Google. But now in the AI advertising space, which I think, and I don't know, maybe you have a different opinion, but it seems like it's going to start chomping at that Google ad space. Do you see that between, let's say, the three or four big AI engines, so Google Overviews or Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude, do you see then that Claude and ChatGPT are going to be able to compete on an equal level, or are they also going to be an also ran kind of in the regular paid search?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't have a crystal ball on this, but what I do think will happen is much like it happened with maps. So when you used to use a physical map, you might have pulled it out once or twice to get to a place, and now you use Google Maps, at least I know I do, or Apple Maps to, every time I go into Boston, I live in the outside of Boston, because I want to know what the traffic's like, how long it's going to take, is there an ideal route? And I think the same thing is going to happen with search. So, yes, ChatGPT and Claude will take away some of the percent of Google's results, but I think people are just searching more now because they're getting better answers.
Hmm.
And so you'll see an explosion of search volume. And I think that's already pretty clearly happening, but I think it's going to continue that there will be more and more opportunities in search. It's just going to be in different engines. But I do think, the different AI engines are going to take some of that percentage of Google's searches. But ChatGPT's already launched their advertising platform. I think you'll see Claude do something similar. Um, and so it's just going to be spread across more. And eventually there might be a winner, but we're still in the Wild West of the development here, so it's going to be a few years, and none are. When Google came out, it was materially better than any other search engine, and so they gained market share almost exclusively through word of mouth. I don't think you're seeing the same thing with the AI engines. Each of them have their own strengths, but they're not. There's no clear one that's so far much better than the others that they're going to win just because they're better. So we're going to see how it plays out and probably spreading more market share around.
Yeah. I think from my own behavior, I have Chrome as my browser. And so I just go to Chrome. It's like a habit. I mean, it is what it is. I go to Chrome, I type in my question, blah 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 blah, what is the best, blah blah blah, and it comes back with Google overviews.
Yeah.
And so now that I come to think of it, if I were to go into Safari on a Mac, then I don't know which search engine actually comes up at that point. It could be Bing, or I may have even put in Google as my default there.
Yeah, you can change your default, but
Right.
um,
So, but I don't go to Claude. I used to use ChatGPT, and now I use Claude. And I mean, I've used quite a few of the different ones, but now I kind of do
mhm.
all my work in Claude. And I don't go to Claude necessarily unless I've got a search related to a specific project. Whereas Google, it's kind of like, hey, my wife wants to know how to do blah 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 blah. And so then I put that in and set up Apple Pay or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And so I just go into Google. Whereas if I'm writing another book, for example, and So now when I'm doing research on that book, I've got a project set up in Claude, and then I do all of my research in that within that project so that I'm getting much more specific answers as opposed to maybe the more general answers that I'm expecting from what I'm searching in on Google.
Right. And there's certainly a lot to be said for just inertia. When it's the browser you're using, it's the default. And I think I actually have, searched similarly to you in that most of my searches are on Google unless I have some things in ChatGPT which are, about my business and it has a lot of information that is very helpful there. I use Claude for certain tasks. And yeah, I think, Google's still winning on the commercial intent types of searches because that's where you go when you are looking for a local business or a local service provider. But I think there are enough people who default to ChatGPT now or to Claude for a lot of their searches. So it's just you will see some change, but Google does have the front runner status for sure, and that will keep them in that position just by default to a
Right.
certain degree for years.
Right, right. And I think you're right. I think it is an inertia thing.
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
so much into the habit of just opening up the browser and my default is Google. I guess then there's going to need to be an option in the browser that says use Claude or use ChatGPT as your search engine, your default search engine.
Yeah, it might get to that point and there might be, you know, antitrust lawsuits around it to
Yeah,
get that to happen. Who knows?
yeah.
But
I'm sure they're coming. That's for sure.
probably
Yeah. I mean, if there's a way for a lawyer to make money, they are going to find it.
for sure.
For sure, for sure. So anyway, I'd love to keep going, but let me ask you one last question, and that is the it's the difficulty that young folks are having or perceive that they're going to have in finding their first job. So, what kind of advice would you give an up and coming new marketer as they're getting out of college and now they want to get into marketing? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so we've hired a couple straight out of college folks. Two of our employees are fall into that category. I think the important thing is to recognize that AI is great at execution and so be able to use it for that, but it's still very bad at judgment. And straight out of college, you're going to lack a certain amount of judgment just because you haven't seen the world. But when you go deep somewhere and learn something in more detail that is allows you to bring more judgment to, maybe it's a particular platform, maybe it's a particular approach to marketing. When you do that, I think it gives you an edge. You get to see things differently than you can just get out of, AI and what would be a above average but not great response. When you can apply that and bring that to the job, I think that's going to give you an advantage over people who, are just doing the average or generalists. So I think that would be an advantage for them. But I'm glad I'm not just out of school right now.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, I'm glad for a bunch of reasons, but definitely that one. But I think you're right, though. I think if they can show that they can use the tools, whatever the tool is, whether it's ChatGPT or whatever, and there is a job opening and they are then wanting to show what their real benefit is to that company that they're interviewing is they then with chat gpt or with any of the ais they have the ability to really put some I think some fascinating capability together to show them that hey I'm not just a hammer but I'm a hammer that can help you build the house and here's like the foundation that I was able to build using those hammers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, wonderful, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Actually, I think we're going to have to do this again in a couple of months because the world will have changed. And
Probably.
and so look, definitely would like to invite you on at some point and go from there. But really want to thank you today, and great to speak with you. And I learned a lot. I was taking some notes, and for one of my clients, because I mean, they're suffering basically very similar things to what you're doing. So I really
Okay.
appreciate your insights today.
Absolutely. It was great to be here. Thanks for the great questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so for the audience, definitely stay tuned for more in this series of the backstory of AI and marketing. And if you haven't already done so, please check out my book. You can download the first chapter at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com, or of course, just go ahead and buy the book. You can get an electronic version for 99 cents, or you can get the printed version for a little bit more, and that's all on Amazon. Jeff, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Guy. Take care.
Thank you.